So it's this image here, and the contention here, as was with the tomboy abs in the first place, was the simping that's going on in the comments here. And I think you and I disagree a bit on this, because I fail to see how, drooling over a woman like this is in any way acceptable. That doesn't mean that you can't have a fit wife, but it's the act of, in the sexual relationship, submitting yourself to a woman that I disagree
Yeah,
with.
I see. I don't know. There are many ways to sort of approach this, and I mean, I can't like try to defend all of these like anime drooler people, but I say, I mean, if you look at this woman in particular, I mean, sort of aside from some like vague notion to some abstract, let's say, the archetypal feminine within like the Julius Evola framework, or this New Age framework. You sort of you look at some traits that you look for in a woman, like this I think this is actually a very pretty woman. Let's say you just cut off the body, right, and you just look at her face from the top up. She's
She is
very
pretty. I don't doubt that.
yeah.
And that's sort of the contention here. It's not that, on a physical level this can't be attractive, but it's the relationship that, the only way I can see it working out is if you're taller and more and stronger than her.
But
then
yeah,
it's okay.
because a lot of these bodybuilders, like with these Instagram bodybuilders, tends to do a lot to sort of enhance how they look, and in reality, they're, imagine like this woman is like 5'3", right, which is like 162 centimeters, right, in that measurement system. So she's sort of petite, but she has like the big muscles. Maybe she's like a wrestler or like a power lifter or something like that, and she likes to go to the gym. So I mean, she does have like soft features in a sense, like unlike you see with a lot of these female bodybuilders where they will inject testosterone.
Yeah, those who are very extreme look very warped.
So as like a type of side effect from doing testosterone, they will have acne, for instance, where the skin will sort of bluster up with pimples, and you can see that on her back. But like with this woman, there seems to be no, I mean, maybe it's Photoshop. There seems to be no impurities with the skin. The skin is very soft and very clear.
Probably just a filter on her.
Yeah, it might be, but let's just pretend it isn't, right? So yeah, I think she's sort of aesthetically, from like a genetic point, pretty to look at. She hasn't developed any sort of male, what do you call, like male phenotype, male traits in the face. There's no kind of
no, aside from like the muscle,
yeah.
which I think is too overblown for what is,
But it might be
shape.
let's say I mean, it's something like if you saw her outside of the light, she wouldn't actually be that large.
Fair enough.
Let's say
okay,
she would.
Let me use another example, right?
But I mean, that's kind of. I mean, that's just trying to finish the point here, because I'm a little bit scatterbrained on this. But the way that I see it, like, men will kind of try to, because of their need to reproduce and the kind of their constant sort of desire to reproduce, they will try to hedge their bets as much as possible. That's sort of my view on this. So I think it was Gavin McGinnis who said that he thinks that he has like a thing for brunettes because he was never able to get a blonde, right? He was not popular enough. So they might like start out liking some kind of like traditional woman, but they have very little success, and they start looking into these niches and developing tastes for like various sort of niches of women eventually, until you get to say they love really large women, or women like strange traits or strange lifestyles, maybe like a lot of tattoos or.
Oh, I have an image. Hang on. Here you go.
Yes. Perfect. We have Mark Collette there with his
Do you want a mid-century German dommy mommy chat? I think the rule should be that you ought to be taller than your wife if possible, but my wife has said that to me. If I wasn't taller than her, we wouldn't be together, and I completely agree. And she's on the taller end of women. I mean.
But yeah, I mean, you have a lot of short kings out there, right? I don't know how tall Mark Collette is.
Yeah, but
like,
I mean, I can still call it out for being degeneracy, and this is degeneracy, and this is degeneracy. I mean, I don't see the problem.
But what do you do? What do you do if you're like Tom Cruise? If you're like 5'3" or something, and who do you date?
Hang on,
at that sense, do you just kind of become trans?
No, hang on, because look at this, right? This was the meme I posted trying to bait out like who's the tomboy abs enjoyers on my channel. And I mean, first of all, this text here is hilarious.
Yeah, I
But
laughed.
this as a relationship is sort of on the surface completely fine. I don't mind that a short man and a blonde tall woman is together, right? The problem would be that if you know some the problem is the submission part. The problem is the metaphysics of allowing the woman to overpower you. Even in the sexual fantasy, this 4chan user is writing here. The man is actually dominating the woman, right?
Yes. No, I think
And
we can agree.
that is the issue with this, because it breeds sort of a class of men who's just uh, submitting themselves to women.
But what if you're like a regular guy who's just into like muscles on girls?
Well, then you're a degenerate. But I mean, you're still going to exist. It's like with the LGBTQ stuff. I mean, society as a whole is positively served by the baseline being don't do this, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. But I mean, like my one argument is that there are sort of ways you can look at this where it's not, about like the female just
Sure.
dominating
And
the
I said
woman or just like this kind of
if this
sub dom
woman
thing.
were to
But
date like a guy who's taller and stronger than her, then
well, let's.
it would be a healthy relationship.
But what if he's like taller and skinny or something, or taller, kind of like schlubby?
Then I think that would not be a healthy relationship, and it shouldn't be condoned.
Yeah, you're making it tough for this chick, right? But maybe she's done it to
Yeah, well,
herself.
she's made it tough for
Uh,
herself.
I think she might, but maybe she's
No
into
one
like
told her to
fat
go
men or
like
something,
take
right?
steroids and work out. I mean, no woman has to do this to get a man.
Let's see, did we get a comment? Was it?
Oh, I just misclicked. Sorry.
Yeah, it's no problem. But I mean, the way that I look at it, like I'm just continuing the thread, like with men's kind of sexual hedging of desires. I think this is men like muscles, right? I think this is sort of a universal thing. They like looking at muscles. They like sort of what do you call Myron? That's the term. Like we have the C's. The reason that you have this.
You just wanna date like a bro. That's why you're into tomboys. Is the meme, right?
Yeah, but that's I mean that's it's almost like I feel that's like 60-70% of what this the fitness community is all about, just like oogling physiques.
Yeah,
There's not that
yeah.
much effort actually being put into it. They just want, oh damn, look at that, check that stuff out. And like I think that's where you get the fascination with women like this, because it's like, okay, you have a woman that has female features. She's not ruined her face, or she still has like the hips and the legs and the softness and so on, but she also has like the muscles put on. So it's like two things that shouldn't be together, but it's two things that you like put into one, right? I think
Sure.
that's it's kind of the same thing that why there's so much of this kind of futa porn, or this thing. We're getting into sort of uncomfortable territory, right? But it's I remember reading this study where they looked at like this sort of large meta study on pornography consumption, where they looked at sort of traits that aroused men, right? And it seems like a lot of very straight men seem to be aroused by penises, and not just like male physiques, but just the penis in itself, and everything else is like, okay, breasts, female asses, female feet,
So you like
and
morph
female
it into
faces.
some sort of
So
demonic.
yeah, so you're just okay. We're just gonna take
We're
everything
just
that we
gonna
like.
put
That's where you
everything
get
in.
the sort of this sort of
Your
she-male stuff,
brain's
right?
like monkey brain gets overloaded with
Yeah,
sexual
exactly. I
desire.
mean, but
Yeah.
that's kind of the where some of this porn. That's why I think some of this kind of like futa stuff is so
I mean, if that breeds
prevalent.
this kind of action and this kind of woman and this kind of subculture, I mean, don't stop. We have to we have to go back.
Yeah, we have to go back, but like this is like the second point that I wanted to go. I think actually people in our spheres are sort of more prone to this kind of stuff than in other spheres. And I don't know if you agree with that, even though this sort of like AA can go out and sort of condemn this, but you look at stuff like this, yeah, like with Mark Collette here, and the interests that people in our spheres have that are quite extreme in multiple areas, and there's no reason that's not going to spill over into sexual urges and so on. I mean, I think we have like more, trans people per capita, probably more homosexuals per capita than you have in like some regular progressive political party. You disagree?
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
So
and that's the thing. I don't mind, wanting to create the perfect, 2.5 meter tall Hyperborean offspring because you managed to land an Amazon. I mean, that's great, right?
yes, the Valkyrie.
But as long as as long as you're the man, right? You got to be the man, and you're not the
Yeah, no,
man when
I
you're
agree.
simping for some
I,
muscle
I
girl
agree.
on
I,
Twitter.
I I don't endorse simping. I don't endorse simping, but I just you have to you kind of appreciate some of the diversity, especially when it's like white women, right? Yeah. It
Sure,
sounds
sure.
it sounds absolutely bizarre, but I feel especially like within these spheres, within sort of AA, they're just gonna have like this niche thing that they're gonna knock on or bully at that point. But I mean, he has open homosexuals on his show. He has like transvestites in his sphere. It's like yeah, okay, you're gonna accept that stuff, but you're gonna draw the line at this. Like, yeah, okay, female bodybuilders, we're not gonna do that's like too degenerate for us, but we're not gonna
It's I
we're
suppose
gonna
it
we're
just,
gonna allow everything
it's the
else, right?
practicality. It comes down to friend enemy distinction, and
Well, yeah, it kind of does, but we need. I guess we need to have more female bodybuilders in the DR, right? We'll get
right,
the Hyperborean mommy
sorely lacking. Uh,
accounts. I mean, but it's a little bit like the stuff say like with Jordan Peterson, where he had this video where no, it's not a video. He had a tweet where he was condemning some plus size model. I think her name was Yumi Nu or something. Do you remember that? Where he had to like close his Twitter account because he
Yumi knew.
yeah, Yumi Nu Jordan Peterson. You could Google that, and he talks about like this is gross. This
Oh
is
yeah,
like
it's the fupa sling woman.
yes, but where he was like, yeah, sorry, no amount of totalitarian tolerance will make this attractive. And I mean, of course, you could sit and grandstand
There it is, the fupa
about
sling.
this, yeah. Because it in grandstand about how you think this is disgusting. It's against the conservative ideal, but like his right hand man is an open homosexual who uses surrogacy, right? And which he's sort
Exactly.
of
It's
which he
kind
has
of it's
endorsed, right?
weird. Yeah.
So I mean, unless you're willing to, I mean, I'm not trying to say this sort of whataboutism stuff. I just think it's kind of a weird place to draw the line if you kind of accept if you think you're an enlightened conservative because you accept like this sort of conservative homosexuals
Sure.
that use surrogacy and basically like a baby factory, then I don't
But
know
I
what
mean,
you gain from drawing the line at like fat
we,
chicks or something.
we all have, blind spots, and I think some of it could be a lot of this is sort of British. They're either British or they're of British heritage, and the British are very. I remember watching like a video where someone pointed it out, like accidentally, where the British political theory and its practice doesn't mesh. Like what their ruling documents, such like the Magna Carta, etc., doesn't map to the reality that the Brits are living through in terms of what their monarch and their parliament does, right? Because they're a practical people. They don't really care about the theory. Not to say that they don't write theory, but they're much more inclined to sort of like deal with the stuff as it comes, right? Which means that they're a lot more prone to sort of just go by the friend enemy distinction.
Well, I guess it makes sense, but they're also principled, I think, in many ways.
Yeah, I'm
The
not
sort of
saying they're
Anglo
not
countries
principled.
are
I'm
less
just saying that
corrupt than many other
compared
countries.
to something like Germans, I mean they're a lot more practically oriented. So they allow for a lot more leeway if that sort of allows them to just navigate the chaos of the world, right?
Yeah, yeah, I'll buy it.